Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, World of Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be playing in the FV215B 183. And we're going to be asking, honestly, a rather important question. Is the 183 a bad tank, or is it a good tank? This is a topic I have brought up many times on the channel, as I've talked about this tank a lot. And it really is a tricky tank to gauge. You see, it is the most popular vehicle in the game. It has the most battles played every single month. And usually when a tank is popular, it indicates that it has a very good, capability going for it. The WZ113 GFT has quickly become one of the most played tanks in Tier 10 this month, and it makes a lot of sense why. The vehicle is completely busted in the current state, and it's able to dominate the battlefield. And if you go down to Tier 7, you'll see Smashers a lot, you'll see Annihilators a lot, and the Forest Witch, because all three of those vehicles are also the highest performing tanks. So normally, you expect, okay, well, if the 183 is the most played tank in the game, then it should be a good tank, right? Well, there's another reason why some tanks might be popular, and that's because of their play style. You see, the 183 features a 183mm. It's the largest gun in the game, 950 damage per shot on the standard, 1200 on the Hesh, and 1390 on the standard HE. That right there is why this is the most popular tank in the game, because it has the ability to take off half of any Tier 10 in one shot, which is absolutely insane. The question is, does the tank sacrifice too much in that regard to be a good vehicle? So far, on my press account, I've played 33 games in the tank. I'm going at a 76% win rate with 3,200 average damage. To be fair, most of these games have been in platoon, so the average damage is a bit lower than it would be solo, but the win rate is more than plenty. While I may be doing well in the 183, do remember that this is one of the worst performing tanks in Tier 10, only beaten out by the Grill and Leopard 1 for average win rate. Why is the Leopard 1 doing worse than the 183? Well, it's pretty simple to understand. The vehicle has absolutely no armor, and usually a lot of players who don't know how to do well in the game grind the Leopard. And that's the same thing for the 183. A lot of new players, when deciding what line they want to go for, say, oh look, this tank does the most damage in the game. Therefore, it must be the best tank. And that right there is the simple reason to why the 183 is a very poor performer. Because most people that drive this tank simply don't know how to play the game. Either they are new and inexperienced, or they spam this vehicle and it is their most played tank and they don't really know how to do anything else properly. That is usually why you see a lot of poor 183 performance. But that's not the only reason. There are a lot of other factors. For example, the 183 is a heavily team-dependent tank. It requires your team to hold, while you hopefully can get out shots to punish them. It requires the enemy team to make bad plays, because obviously this tank feeds off of mistakes, as all tank destroyers do. But the biggest problem is that you have to hit your shots. Half the shells you're firing are high explosive, and if they don't go exactly where you aim, you aren't going to do any damage. But the other problem is, when you do poke, you have very little armor, meaning that you probably... Oh, well, we got a Chieftain, for example, and there you go. That is 1,100 hit points we just took off the Chieftain. Now, that right there is where the 183 does insanely well. But as I was saying, it really is a hit or miss tank. If you hit your shots, it's incredible. If you don't hit your shots, it does very poor. So it's really down to the user more than anything else. So right now, we're going to chill right here. We're going to see if that Chieftain pokes it again. Would not surprise me if he did. So we're just going to wait. And there you go. Chieftain does poke it. There you have it. He's dead. I mean, as I said, the 183 is heavily dependent on the fact that enemy players do not know what they are doing. We can see two juicy targets, a Foch showing me his entire side, and a 268 version 4. So right now what I'm hoping is that the Foch, there you go. That's classic 183 RNG for you. So we hit two easy shots on the Chieftain, but then we have the Foch, and it unfortunately does not pen. So it really is hit or miss in the regard of doing well in this tank. We're going to reload for another 5 seconds, and now that we have the shot, I'm hoping that the 268 version 4 will show us his roof, and there you have it. So we hit that shot, but we don't hit the Foch, and we're up to 3,000 damage at this point. So now we're going to make our way over to the AE Phase 1 and 50 TP prototype. And if we take advantage of the situation properly, the enemy team is not going to be enjoying our experience all too much. We're going to wait for that 50 TP proto to poke. We're going to aim in on his side, and we're going to get a 1,200 damage fire. See, I was originally going to go for the AE Phase 1, but there's no point in doing that when we can just shoot the 50 TP. So now we are going to flank behind the AE, and we are going to reload. We have just a couple seconds left, and then we are going to finish him off. So this was a very good game for the 183. We were easily able to take advantage of our opponents. We were able to deal over 4,000 damage, and it looks like we should be able to win this game. So now we are going to chill right here. Is that 4202 going to drive across in the open? Does not look like it. That's not too big of a deal. We're just going to head a little bit wide. The Foch steps in the base B. What I'm going to hope is that the Foch drives out and allows us to hit him. We have the 777 who is a one-shot, and right now we're just going to move up this way, and then we're going to hopefully kill the Foch. That's really all I can do. So let's make our way over to base B, and let's see. There's the Foch, and we're just going to roll around the corner, and we're going to get a nice 1,000 damaging shell. We're going to waste his time while reloading, and we're going to back up. Now the Foch is obviously on clip reload, so we just need to chill right here and wait 10 more seconds. Now the 183 has done a pretty good job this game, to be completely real. I cannot get mad at the tank at all. There you go, he's dead, and there you go. But notice how quick we almost lost this game. Even though we did so much damage this battle, it was very close to being a defeat. And it really is a tricky tank, especially late game, to win, because you rely on your team to support you. So we did 5,400 damage, we did top on the team, and we did a lot. I mean, we took 2,000 off of the enemy chieftain, we absolutely nuked the 50 TP proto, we took 1,000 off of the Foch, we did a lot, but could we have done that in any other tank? Well, the Jagdpanzer probably could have done most of what we did there. The difference is the Jagdpanzer wouldn't have gotten penned in a lot of those situations. And if we'd played a 4005, we would have had more mobility. But I will say the 4005 probably wouldn't have been able to deal nearly as much to the Chieftain when he poked, and it would not have been able to deal nearly as much to the 268 version 4. But with the higher DPM on the 4005, I might have been able to shoot the Foch and V4 when they were side on and get 1,600. So it's all situational. Personally, out of the Foch, the Jagdpanzer E100, and the 183, I would say, not the Foch, sorry, the 4005. I do actually want to add the Foch in as well, though, because the Foch does feature a double-shot auto-loading gun, which deals 1,000 damage in 2 shots. Out of the Foch, the 4005, the 183, and the Jag, which are the best? Well, I would say the Foch is easily the best out of the bunch, just because it has the most mobility and a decent amount of armor. Also, we're going to aim it on this cron here, and we are possibly going to, well, there you go. Take off 1,200, 300, yeah, 1,350 HP. There's no other tank in the game that can do that right there. And again, that's why the 183 is just so stupid. I mean, that cron's dead. Full health cron is already out of the game, well, as long as the 50B hits his shot. Alright, so at this point, we are now going to make our way... Oh, of course, the 50B misses 2 shots. Well, as I said, we're going to make our way over towards the E100 and maybe get a shell out into his tank. Guess we're going to find out. Here we go. Aiming, 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 and he does hit me. But there you go. That's classic 183 right there. Easy shot, which should deal damage to the enemy. Does not. We have the 777 flanking behind, and now we are in a very, very bad situation. We are going to shoot at the enemy 268 version 4, and because it's a high explosive shell, we're going to kill him for 900 of his HP. But we can see that this game is not looking great for our team. Ideally, we need that Boschatillon to finish off the E100, but it is still very, very sus at this moment. We are going to back up. We're going to keep backing up. We're going to see what we can do here. Let's see if that 777 pokes it. He does, and we're going to aim in a high explosive shell on his lower plate. There you have it, 1,350 damage dealt into his vehicle. Alright, well, we're just going to pull forwards, ideally not dying to the Boschatillon, but most likely we will die to the Boschatillon. So we did fine this game, to be fair. I mean, it's not the 183's fault we ended up dying. The Batchat was able to clip me, and we really didn't have any support. But this is why the 183 struggles to do well in a lot of situations, because you are very reliant on your team, as I said. And I needed one of my 5 fellow teammates to support me, and they didn't. But you'll also notice that we were a big help to our team. We were able to deal 1,300 to the Kron, we were able to deal 1,300 to the 777, and add that with a 900 damage shell into the 268 version 4, and that is easily over 3,000 damage. In fact, if we'd been able to hit the enemy E100 that was in the corner there, we would have dealt over 4,000 damage. So it is very interesting how, even in these very short games, the 183 can very easily chunk out such a high amount of damage. The 57 Heavy is obviously going to clear the enemy, and just like that, this is obviously going to be a win. So let's come back at the post-game result. And there you have it. We indeed have a win. This was a very easy win at that, and I can tell you quite confidently the 183 helped out big time there. We cleared a super dangerous V4, we got the Kron cleared basically right in the beginning, and when you add all that together, we did 3,572 damage, which places us second on the team. So overall, a pretty solid result. The FV215B 183 is a weird tank in the results that it can do very well, but it can also do really, really poor. And half the time, it's not really based on skill in that regard. But if you can catch people off guard, especially if you know proper positioning, like we showcased in these 2 games here. I mean, yeah, we got rushed in that game on Black Goldville, but I can't really say it was my fault that I got rushed. I played the tank right, I put it in a proper position where my team was near. I'm just not fast enough to really re-maneuver my tank, judging that it just doesn't have that level of mobility. So I've done a lot of yapping about the 183, but we arrive to the real question. Is the FV215B 183 a bad tank, or is it simply just the players using it? Well, personally, I think it's a mix of both. The 183 is a heavily RNG-dependent tank. You saw us aiming in on the lower plate of that E100 for quite a while, and we didn't end up penetrating. And sometimes shots like that will make or break an entire game. A vehicle that has 1,100 health, let's say a medium, getting shot down to 0 is huge and can change the battle immediately. You know, like a boss Chatillon, it can completely change the course of the game if you nuke a bat chat in the beginning of the game, or your shell dunks into the ground and then you get lit up for missing. These are things that cause the 183 to either be amazing or absolutely awful. Now, as a skilled player, I try to put myself in positions where RNG does not heavily affect my gameplay. As we saw, I had plenty of time to aim it on the Kron, and because of that, we ended up hitting his vehicle. And that's the same thing for the enemy 777 who was in front of us, and the 268 version 4. Those were all easy shots, so because of that, I confirmed dealing 3,500 damage. But there are games where you will miss shots, even ones that are close, due to just the way the tank works. We can see my loadout here. I'm running Refined Gun and Supercharger because of just how inaccurate and derpy this style of vehicle is. So, the final question, is the 183 a good tank? I think it's 50-50. I think if you are bad at the game, and you don't know proper positioning and how to use this tank to its potential, then yeah, it's an awful tank. And I think the majority of vehicles in the game can agree to that type of situation. The difference is, if you're driving an IS-7, if you make a mistake, you have a lot more health, you have a lot more armor, and you don't get heavily punished. The 183 is a tank that if you miss, people will immediately take advantage of you and get back shots on you. And that is why it does so poorly. In a skilled player's hands, I think the 183 can do fairly well. Today, I played just a couple games extra on the vehicle, and as we can see, I've kept the average damage at 3,200, and I've got almost an 80% win rate now. So it's not like this is a vehicle that is bad at the game. It can do well, and in a good player's hands, I think it will do well. Especially with the way the meta is working right now and so many aggressive YOLOs, this is a tank that takes advantage of that very easily. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I think, as I said, in a good player's hands, it is an alright tank. I do not think it breaks the top 10 or even 20 4 vehicles that you should grind. I think any newer player, this is the worst tank to grind. I think this is a tank you should go for after you're fairly experienced and you want to have a little bit of a fun in a tank that you don't care about your stats in. If you expect to do very well in this tank, that's just an unrealistic belief, but I think you can do alright in it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.